This is the VOA Special English Education Report. Students at some high schools in Illinois recently had some famous visitors. Among them were Jimmy Carter, the former American president, and Mikhail Gorbachev, the last president of the Soviet Union. Other speakers included former South African President F.W. de Klerk and Shireen Ebadi, the Iranian human rights activist. They were all in Chicago for an event in late April, the 12th World Summit of Nobel Peace Laureates. The students prepared for the visits by working on a human rights curriculum called Speak Truth to Power. The materials come from the Robert F. Kennedy Center for Justice and Human Rights. Manal Sala got to introduce Mikhail Gorbachev at her school, the Frederick von Steuben Metropolitan Science Center in Chicago. Manal is one of the top students graduating this year. She will be attending Northwestern University in Illinois on a scholarship for low-income students. Manal had not yet been born when Mr. Gorbachev became a Nobel laureate. He won the Peace Prize in 1990 for helping to end the Cold War and working for nuclear disarmament. Manal also got to introduce Mr. Gorbachev at the World Summit, where he joined the other laureates. She says students often hear about the Peace Prize winners and see them in documentaries. But having them appear in person, she says, makes them and what they did seem so much more real. Mr. Gorbachev said at the summit that he hopes more young people will work against global problems like poverty and unemployment. He said young people have to be given a chance to take a stand, to take a position in this world. At von Steuben, the former Soviet leader talked about his nuclear arms negotiations with President Ronald Reagan in the late 1980s. He also talked about growing up in a small Russian village and studying law at Moscow University. And he talked about the need for international cooperation, a theme of the World Summit. Students at Lincoln Park High School in Chicago heard from Muhammad Yunus. He won the 2006 Peace Prize for his work with microcredit for social and economic development. Mr. Yunus said he used his own money to make the first loan, about $27, to women selling baskets in a market in Bangladesh. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal with the VOA Special English Education Report. In recent years, Bill Gates has given financial support to improve American education. In 2009, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation launched the Measures of Effective Teaching project. The project tests new ways to recognize what makes a good teacher. Its goal is to help educators and policymakers identify and support good teaching. The study is being carried out in public school systems in 7 American cities. Thousands of teachers volunteered to take part. They agreed to have their classes recorded on video, but only for observation by expert researchers. Last spring, the project collected digital videos of 13,000 lessons in the classrooms taught by the teachers. They were in grades 4 through 9. Researchers also collected information from students. They asked students to report their opinions of each teacher's classroom. Students were also tested in mathematics, English, and biology. Officials recently released early results of the project study. The report says teachers' past success in raising student scores on state tests is one of the strongest signs of their ability to do so again. This is known as a teacher's value added. The teachers with the highest value added scores on state tests also help students understand math or show reading ability. The results also say students know effective teaching when they experience it. The students gave comments on whether or not their teachers cared about them. They also gave opinions on how much teachers controlled or managed student behavior in the classroom. The report found that classrooms where students reported positive experiences were more likely to show greater learning gains. Another finding shows that combining different sources of information helps administrators provide better comments and suggestions to teachers. In many cases, administrators had been basing their comments on student test scores only. The Measures of Effective Teaching project continues through 2012, when final results will be released. Researchers plan to test a new measure that examines what a teacher knows about how to teach a subject. Experts say these findings could also help create better training and development for teachers. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. In February, students from 103 universities in 88 countries took part in an international computer programming contest. It was called the Battle of the Brains. The competition took place in Harbin, China. 3-person teams from each school had 5 hours to solve 11 real-world problems. Jerry Kane coached the team from Stanford University in Palo Alto, California. He says the problems involved, among other things, paperweights, robots, castles, and lakes. The students first listed the problems in order of difficulty. Then they figured out the requirements of each. They designed ways to test their solutions, and they wrote the needed software systems. The winning team was from Shanghai Jiaodong University in China, but even that team was not able to solve all the problems within the given time limit. Stanford's team solved 5 problems and finished in 14th place. Stanford was one of 21 American universities that took part in the contest this year. The official name of the Battle of the Brains is the ACM International Collegiate Programming Contest. It began in 1970 at Texas A&M University. The contest quickly became popular in the United States and Canada. It developed and grew as more and more schools took part in local and area contests. The first final competition was held in 1977 at the Association for Computer Machinery Computer Science Conference. Today, a network of universities holds area competitions that send the winners to the World Finals, now organized by IBM. Contest spokesman Doug Heinzman says the world champions receive prizes and scholarships. They are also guaranteed an offer of employment or internship with IBM. He said past world champions are now working on some of the leading-edge materials in science and physics. One world finalist from China has been working on the Watson supercomputer. So this competition is a chance to be recognized and to work for some of the top technology and research companies around the world. And that's the VOA Special English Education Report. You can read all our reports and send comments to our newly redesigned website at voaspecialenglish.com.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. South Korea's education system is highly respected, but there are concerns that academic dishonesty could harm its image in the world. That dishonesty includes cases of falsified research. And in recent months, 2 South Korean lawmakers have faced accusations that they copied work for their doctoral dissertations. Of course, problems like these are not limited to South Korea. In April, Hungary's president resigned after a university withdrew his doctoral title. A committee found that most of the pages of his dissertation on the modern Olympics were either direct translations or showed partial similarity to other works. Mr. Kim is a graduate student at Korea University who asked to be identified only by his family name. He attended schools in the United States and says Americans seem to understand that claiming other people's work as their own is wrong. He says Koreans may not yet have a well-established understanding of plagiarism and whether plagiarism is acceptable or not. A VOA reporter asked South Korea's education minister, Lee Ju-ho, how seriously he takes the problem. Mr. Lee said the problem is not as bad as it used to be. Still, he says, he wants to put more effort into eliminating plagiarism. Mr. Kim, the graduate student, says current efforts to educate college students about plagiarism are not very effective. But he says British and American professors who teach at South Korean colleges are helping to fight the problem. For example, he says one professor at his graduate school found a student plagiarizing and automatically gave that student a 0. Ian Ja is a professor of ethics education at Seoul National University of Education. He says the training should start in elementary school. He says children should learn that copying their classmates' homework or not identifying their sources of information is wrong. If they understand that, he says, then they will be able to write honest papers later in life. Michael Neil Shapiro a Canadian, taught at 7 different South Korean universities. In Korea, he says, there are both ancient and modern reasons for thinking that it's okay to use other people's ideas without giving specific credit. But East or West, he says, one reason for plagiarism is the same: intellectual laziness and the hope not to be discovered. For VOA Special English, I'm Carolyn Presutti. You can learn more about plagiarism and learn English with our stories and activities at voaspecialenglish.com.